What's up, guys? It's the Four Horsemen Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Josh Romine. With me tonight, I got Alex Deviney Stoner. How are you, Alex?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm great. Glad to be back finally. Sorry about last week, guys. I know the show was not the same without. Also got Brent Walker. How are you, Brent?
I'm feeling swift.
Swift? Like Taylor Swift or like fast?
Don't do me like that.
We're short Josh Van Cleve. He's got something more important to do. Don't know what could be more important than this, but
not sure. Not sure.
Having babies is lower on the priority list, but you know what?
Guys, it's his second. It's his second. He's been around the track. Come on.
He's already done it once, so I think he probably could have done the show. But you know what? We'll give him a pass. I tried listening last week, and Josh, I love you. I'm just the superior host. So
that's true.
Once you listen to this, you will realize and succumb to it. But so the show, we are going to just kind of talk about players. It's week 8. We're halfway through the season, over halfway through the fantasy season, if you're not counting playoffs. So with that being said, I kind of wanted to talk about – I think Josh teased it last week, but if you're a team that's in the middle of the pack, you're on the border of making the playoffs, not making the playoffs. I just wanted to see what you guys were kind of doing with your teams, if there was specific strategies that you were taking, or kind of what routes you were going about trying to turn your team into that playoff team from being somebody that may miss the playoffs, turn into a team that could make the playoffs. Either one of you want to start me off with something?
One thing I'm trying to do, and I am in the middle of a pack in a few leagues, and I am studying the streaming waiver wire like crazy. Like, I am trying to gain every possible advantage with lesser known names against great matchups. And it seems to be working so far, because I've been winning games the last couple of weeks to put me back in a position to get into the playoffs. So that's one strategy I'm employing right now, is just I'm looking at matchups and exploiting those good matchups and hoping that I hit.
What kind of teams are you targeting then?
Any like tight ends that play the Browns, or any quarterbacks or pass catchers that are playing like the Patriots, who are giving up a ton of yardage and touchdowns and in the passing game. Or if it's a running back that might happen to be on the waiver wire, there aren't many, but if they have a good rushing matchup against a poor defense, I'm looking to exploit that too. So,
okay, Alex, how about you?
One of the things that I usually look at is, what ends up happening a lot of times is when you're in the middle of the pack, there's a reason. The reason is your team is off balance. So what you could be doing is you can go out and say, okay, let's say you have a Todd Gurley, okay, but the rest of your team just is kind of flat. Try to turn Todd Gurley into 2 or 3 players. They can kind of spread out the wealth a little bit in your team. That's one strategy that I employ a little bit, especially in redraft. You don't want to do that so much in Dynasty, because you don't want to give up a guy that could be a bell cow for you for years to come. But if you're in a redraft league and you're looking at, you're on the outside looking into the playoffs, you don't really have anything to lose by giving up one of your blue chip players to see if you can get a few extra players, because that name can catch on and grab. You're almost kind of playing a little bit of Moneyball, honestly. You're kind of looking at the guys that don't have these big names but are putting up solid numbers. Players that kind of jump out to me. Your Michael Crabtree type players that people aren't really coveting but are looking at as a possible. But if they can give you, when you look at those players and it averages out that you actually end up getting more points out of that deal than just that one player, that's what you need to do. You need to kind of spread it out a little bit more and see if you can bolster your team just a little bit more.
Are you looking to trade with any teams in particular? Like, are you trying to stay away from like maybe the guys at the top end, not trying to give them your blue chip player and like kind of focus it more down towards the bottom, or vice versa? Or
You definitely want to focus on the bottom teams. You don't want to give those top teams even more ammunition. Now, here's the problem. The reason why they're a top team is because they have better players. Right. So you're going to end up with a problem where you know it's very rare that you're going to say, you know, you're going to look at a guy that's like 2-4 or you know 2-5 or whatever it is, and say, oh, he's got a stockpile of all these great players. So honestly, what you're probably kind of trying to do is maybe a little more strategic. You maybe target the teams that are right around the same area as you, that's trying to do the same thing, and hope that maybe they have the opposite mindset. That they think, oh, if I can just get one big name guy and get rid of some of this like riffraff that I've got, then I can I think that's the wrong way to go. But there are plenty of players that will go that route. They'll say, they'll look at a Todd Gurley or Ezekiel Elliott or something along those lines and say, that's my ticket to the playoffs. So you want to target those kind of teams. So try to stay around your tier, I guess. Because if somebody is 0-7 at this point, they've pretty much given up. There's not really much hope in trading with them anyway. So you're just trying to do something to get things, sparked up for your team a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's kind of what I wanted to hear was it's important on who you're targeting the trade with, because you don't want to make a team that has the possibility of knocking you out better. But when you're kind of targeting those guys, there are a lot of people in that middle route that don't like making decisions on starting or sitting players. It's easier sometimes if you have fewer players that are better, so you feel better about your decision making. But like you said, that is kind of the wrong approach to be taking. You want to have yourself as many options to play matchups and to get in there and to be able to make decisions. And trust your decisions. I have a lot of people that will ask me questions about what players to start, and I always lead in with it like, if it ends up being the wrong decision, don't be too mad, because you're making it based off of educated, stats or matchups. You're doing the right thing. It's going to work out more often than not. So don't get discouraged when you make those bad calls. You want as much talent on your team as possible. And if you're in the middle of the pack and you're trading away Todd Gurley, don't be afraid to ask for a lot, because I think there are people that will give up a lot of talent for that. And you're not gonna get like Mike Evans and I don't even know right now. Running back's so thin, but
so thin.
You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna get two.
You're not gonna get
8 players.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you're probably looking at is we have talked a lot about Brent's tactic. Now, you basically want to shoot them high enough that it's not that you're getting. If they said yes, you're getting more. But if they but not that you've just completely made them alienated them too, because I know that's happened to you quite a bit, Romine, where you've got your work leagues or something like that. Like some of the ridiculous trades that have gone through to you.
Somebody literally right before the podcast offered me Alex Smith straight up for Carson Wentz. Don't do that. Why? Think about the trade first of all. And what I always try to do is I try to think like the other player. What is this person going to say when they see this trade? Try to put in a player that they like, or off of a team that they like, or a player that they've been talking about. And that's where exactly. Listening to what people are talking about in group chats. Texting has changed fantasy football a lot too. When you have group chat, you get to know what people like. And I know people take advantage of me because I'm very loud about who I like. So
get all that Kendall Wright stock, send it right his way.
Just keep pouring it on. Love me some Kendall Wright.
Kendall Wright and Michael Floyd for top tier. Sky's the limit.
I still don't understand why Michael Floyd wasn't good.
Because he sucks ass. That's why.
But Laquan Treadwell played last week. That was exciting.
He did.
He looked like a wide receiver. He got feisty. but he looked like one. He kind of looked like a water boy, standing on the sidelines or getting out there and just kind of decoying. But all right, well, what do you got to say? You want to say something?
I was just saying I hate his situation right now because Thielen's come on and so now at best, even if he gets going, he's only a number 3, and that's problematic.
What do you think about that Minnesota wide receiver core? All the way around, Diggs, Thielen.
To be completely honest, I almost want Thielen out of anybody just because he's not always hurt.
Yeah.
Like Diggs has the highest upside, but he's always hurt.
Man, constantly. I love Diggs too. Like I love him so much right now with Brent's in it and a couple other guys, and I'm tearing it up with Diggs. And I think it's partially because I own him in several leagues, and I want to see him do amazing. So if I feel like if I can do it in Madden, that it's going to happen in real life. And right now, it's not working out. He did suffer a groin injury, oddly enough, in my season as well. So I don't know if I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. I feel like it's it's not fair. It's rigged. But
yep, that's what it is. It's rigged.
All right, so this is week 8. You don't have a lot of time to start making your decisions. So we were talking about what you guys need to do. Let's talk about some different players this week, and I kind of just want to see where you guys are at on them or what you're doing with them. First one I want to talk about, Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to do with him. I picked him up in the league, I think, last week and ended up starting him, with bye weeks going on, but people are dropping him. Is he worth a pickup? Brent, are you muted?
I don't know. Brent's talking. I can hear him talking in there, but nothing's coming through.
I see his mouth moving, but
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, Brent, you work on figuring that out. Alex, what are you doing with Roethlisberger?
Okay, what are we talking redraft or are we talking dynasty right now?
Talk redraft first.
Redraft, I don't know if I can completely let go of him. Typically, he's really good in at home. So, he might be one of those – he might be the greatest stream quarterback right now. If you got the right matchup, if you got him at home, he's probably going to be amazing for you. So, I don't think that you want to drop a guy that has Antonio Brown – and I mean, again, I have to apologize to a USC wide receiver, Juju Schuster, Beckham or whatever the heck, Smith Schuster, looks really good. I mean, I think he's almost becoming their number 2, and I wouldn't be shocked if all this ridiculousness that Bryant's being a jerk when the guy can't stay off the weed and was suspended for an entire year. You don't start having a contract situation in the middle of the season when you can't even stop being high. Like, come on, dude.
Right.
Stupid. Just stupid.
I dropped Roethlisberger a lot.
You did?
Oh, yeah?
I dropped him in a lot of leagues. The guy hasn't thrown like a 300-yard game, and I believe it's like his last 12 or 13 games.
Wow, really?
I mean, he gets a couple touchdowns, but he's only good at home. Like, I dropped him. I just think there's way better quarterbacks out there right now with the emergence of, like, Alex Smith, Carson Wentz. Heck, Phillip Rivers is doing better. Matt Stafford's doing better.
Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor's doing better.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, but here's the thing, though, Brent. You were naming off quarterbacks that more likely than not at this stage in the game are already on teams. So who are you trying to get?
I already have them on my team. Is the thing. Like, I don't want Ben Roethlisberger at all with these guys that are already on my team.
I understand, but if you were to, in a regular standard league where you just start one quarterback, what kind of quarterback are you getting to replace Big Ben if you don't have a backup?
It all depends on who's on waiver wire.
Would you rather have Brett Hundley?
No.
Would you rather have
Not
Tyrod
at this
Taylor?
point. Yes. And I could explain that, though.
Explain
I
it.
think Tyrod Taylor probably has one of the easiest schedules going forward till the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy has just such an easy schedule. Let me bring it up here. He has, starting this week, he has Oakland. Alex Smith tore them up. A lot of teams have been tearing him up. New York Jets, Saints, Chargers, Chiefs, Patriots, Colts, Dolphins, Patriots. Patriots in the final 2 out of 4 weeks.
Yep.
I think Tyrod Taylor is very underrated rest of season. Like, I want him on my team. It's even as a bench stash, possibly, just depending on how well he does here over the next few weeks. But
who's catching these passes?
Such an easy.
Jordan Matthews is coming back, hopefully.
And Charles Clay will be back in probably
LaShawn
2 or 3
McCoy
weeks.
is catching a lot of the passes.
Okay.
Very true.
But
the wide receivers are very lackluster, but you got to love the upside with his running game because, his legs are giving him a decent floor every single week, and his upside is with the passing game, I guess.
Well, that's the thing.
If he even has a remotely decent passing game,
if you're looking at
about a good fantasy day.
Looking at his rushing, if he gets, 50 to 60 yards a game, somewhere around there, that's almost an extra touchdown. You might as well. And, Alex, I know that you don't really care much for Tyrod Taylor, but
I'm looking at his stats. They're not that. He had one good game last week. Outside of that, he hasn't done anything.
I'm not looking at them right now, but what are they?
Hold on. Okay, so am I looking at the right? Okay, so last week he did have 268 yards, but he is only half of the games has he gone over 200 yards, and only one game's he gone over 250, and he's had a couple of touchdowns. Let me see what his rushing yards are. He had 50 yards this past week, so he had a good week last week, and then the week before he had 3. The week before that, 12. The week before that, 13. He's not good. Where's this Kool-Aid? I'm sorry. I don't see where he is good.
Yeah. I'm looking at
he was
so
good last week.
You went off the last 3 games, but the first week he had 38 yards rushing, second week he had 55. So he went against Cincinnati, Atlanta, and Denver were those 3 bad games. So I don't know. I would say it's about 50-50 right now on how he's done with rushing.
Yeah, but then you add in the fact that, half of the games he's been in the 100. Week 2, he had 125 yards. Honestly, I think a backup running back could have 125 yards passing. That
game was garbage too. That Carolina game, it was disgusting.
Ugh,
and Buffalo
9.
Yeah,
Ugh.
Buffalo has been. I don't even know what the real word is for him, but everything's been going through LaShawn McCoy pretty much. All the passing, a lot of the passing goes through him. They have Zay Jones as their number 1. So,
yeah, I picked him up and I dropped him. When I picked him up, Brent immediately went at me and was like, "Don't say you're going to start it." I'm like, "Brent, look at my team. I have to." Honestly, I was doing some research about it, and that was one of the things, one of the, kind of the hot takes that I read on quite a few places, that it's if this was a week for Zay Jones to break out, this is going to be it. And that was, with how bad my team is, that possibility was much sexier than grabbing Jermaine Kearse, who ended up having a touchdown. But yeah. But I don't know. I want a young player that's going to do well, and I dropped him for Demarcus Robinson, though, who
from
looked
Kansas
really good
City for the Buffalo.
Yeah.
Or is it?
No, Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Yeah.
Who's the other guy in Buffalo that's been doing pretty good? Thompson? Is it? Sorry, I can't remember what his name is.
Deontay Thompson.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
What? Do you know anything about him, Brent?
He came from Chicago. He was on Chicago earlier this season, and they released him.
I remember that because he was actually doing really well at the end of the season last year.
God, I'd never even heard of him.
Because there was like Thompson and Bellamy
we'll
and
see what happens.
I wish Watkins wouldn't have left Buffalo.
I think I wish Watkins would. God, what is happening with Watkins? Right? Can we talk about Watkins?
Yeah,
my God,
he's on my list, man.
What is that? Can we just launch into that?
I dropped him in the league. Granted, like somebody dropped Amari Cooper, so I picked up Amari Cooper, dropped Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Brent, do you think he's droppable in redraft?
Oh yeah,
gosh, it feels like it.
He is, man. Come on.
They just don't use him enough. He barely gets targeted, and their offense completely runs through Gurley.
Yeah,
and Cooper Kupp even.
I was gonna say you'd rather own Cooper Kupp than Sammy Watkins, right?
Easily, yeah.
Roman, I've got to ask you this then. How is it that Sammy Watkins was much more highly touted than Michael Floyd? How are you so easy to jump off a Watkins wagon? And for years you were on the Michael Floyd wagon. I don't understand that. I don't understand.
You love who you love. I didn't choose it. It chose me. It's just I couldn't. It's just I don't know why. Like I think it's because it became funny. Like it's hilarious.
That's true.
And it's just what I mean. Like I just enjoyed it. I love loving Michael Floyd. I'm in love with the love that I have for Michael Floyd.
I love to love you. That's a Faith Hill song, isn't it?
I don't listen to Faith Hill.
Well, I don't either. But you got to know those songs.
I don't know.
I love the loving way you love me.
Sure, that sounds about right. Well, that's my ode to Michael Floyd. So, but Sammy Watkins, I feel like he should be good though. Still, I don't understand that Jared Goff is coming. Kind of in his coming out party. People are still talking about the Rams like being way better than they were.
Yeah,
and
they
Watkins
are way better than they were.
Garbage.
Yeah, complete garbage. I mean, like unusable garbage. Like what happened? Like when you saw that, was it Thursday night or Sunday night, whatever game that was, where against San Francisco, where he just exploded. You were like, here we go. Sammy Watkins, LA, this is going to be amazing. And then dead.
Mm-hmm.
Complete garbage.
I don't get it.
I've started him every week, but like I don't know. I mean, my team is so bad. I have to.
So I wouldn't trade you LeGarrette Blount and Wendell Smallwood for him. Like that was a trade that you and I were kind of talking about. Like, at least you asked me what I would want, and I looked at your team, and even I saw Sammy Watkins as like I wouldn't do that. Like nobody wants to trade for him right now. Like especially
we've seen this in the past a little bit, where like these players, like high caliber players like Sammy Watkins, they'll have a terrible first half of the season, and then they go into their bye week, they start figuring things out a little more, get him some targets, get him open some more, get him some better routes, and I think he's worth holding on to. I wouldn't drop him. I could understand if you want to. Like I have no problem with that either, but if you hold on to Sammy Watkins, he's got a bye week this week. See what he does the next week or two. See if maybe they open up their offense a little bit through him, and then make your decision, or try and trade him before the trade deadline. A lot of trade is coming up too.
Yeah. If you're in Dynasty, I would suggest first keep him or try to get him for nothing.
Yeah.
Because he's coming into a year where he could be, he's in a contract year. So if LA doesn't do anything with him, he's going to go to another team. And he's probably going to go to a team that could utilize him, like has the same kind of mindset. I don't think it'll be the Patriots because they have Cook. But I mean, I wouldn't put it past him, honestly. I mean, like something along those lines where all of a sudden, what if he went to Green Bay? Yeah. I mean, or some team that like the Raiders, something where all of a sudden he could be like a fixture on an offense, like a high octane offense. That could be great, and you could get him for nothing right now. So in dynasty formats, I think that try to buy low if you can.
And that's what I was going to say is like, I talk about dropping him, and unless somebody's great on the waiver wire, I'm not going to drop him. You know what I mean? Like Amari Cooper, that makes sense. If somebody's dropping Amari Cooper, go ahead and drop Sammy Watkins and pick him up. But if you look at your team and there's a player maybe that you need to drop, but you're not sure about it, offer it for Sammy Watkins.
Don't drop him for Jermaine Kearse.
No.
Or
Juju Smith-Schuster,
Zay Jones, or
maybe.
I don't know. That's hard. Honestly, that one, I think that's my pivot point, where I would sit there and I would stare at my screen for like 10 minutes. You guys have done that, right? You're just staring. You're like, should I do this?
Oh yeah.
And then you eat
sometimes
a
takes longer than 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You eat a sandwich, you come back, and then you're just like, I don't know. And then maybe you even go to bed. You're thinking about it in bed. You're just like, should I do this? I don't know.
Yeah.
But what if somebody gets it? And then you're like, screw it. And then you're on your phone. It's in the dark of night, and you're just going at it. And you finally do it, and then you're like, I think I made a terrible decision.
Instant regret. Yep. Oh, trust me, I know. Like, I'll go to drop a player or like add a player, and I'll close out of it a million times. I'm like, nope, not doing it. And I'll I'm gonna do it. I know the feeling. But all right, let's move on. Let's talk about somebody else. Let's talk about running back. Brent, is this Joe Mixon's week to blow up?
Oh,
they got home.
I know, and you would say it because it's against the Colts, and you know I like the Colts.
I know.
But yes, this is the week for Mixon. But I've been saying that for the last 6 weeks.
This has got to be it. This has got to be it, though. Did I read something about him, like squeaky wheel in it? Like he was complaining about not getting enough touches?
Yeah, because he was saying that it was working back to it in the second half in a close game. So he was calling out the play calling and the coaching, basically. And Marvin Lewis actually told him, hey, maybe you should mature up a little bit.
Yeah, good. Because
I feel like there's friction now. So, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he's going to get more touches or if he's going to be punished for what he said.
Honestly, though, like, what I feel like the only way that Mixon is really going to reach his full potential is if Marvin Lewis gets out of town.
See ya.
I think that he is a poor coach, and I don't know why. He's been Jeff Fisher in it for years now, like putting together subpar to middle grade teams that may or may not make the playoffs, and he's still the coach. Like, how do you not see that his coaching style is stale? It's the same to me. It's the same thing with Sean Payton in New Orleans. Get rid of him. Switch it up. It's time. And for Sean Payton, he should go somewhere else because that coaching styles get stale. You can't have the same coach forever. And when it starts to get stale, like, man up, on both sides and make a change. The problem is that you've got teams that hold on to coaches for so long. I mean, Bengals aren't winning a Super Bowl, and Bengals have been really bad on making, play calls and things like that. They're not a great team this year. And I think that Mixon, the whole team should go through Mixon and Green. If you have both those guys going, that team's unstoppable, but they're not doing what they need to do.
They're just not committed. Like, just commit to these guys. These are your best offensive playmakers, and you are not getting them the ball. You are not going to be successful.
Yeah,
give AJ Green touches. Give him targets. Give Joe Mixon tons of touches. Like,
especially to the fact that it's like, okay, you've lost Eifert, and so you have Tyler Kroft, who's okay, but not Tyler Eifert. And then you've got LaFell. You're waiting on John Ross to come back. So you really don't even have a number 2 that's legitimate. I mean, the team has to flow through players, and they're just bumbling around and being a 500 team like always.
Yeah, AJ Green's going to go for 200 and at least 2 scores this weekend, I feel like.
He's such a good matchup. Such a good matchup.
He does. Colts are such trash. But I would start Joe Mixon if I had him this week.
Yeah, for sure.
It was like I was saying earlier, like you can't feel bad about it. Like you got to. He's gonna blow up one of these weeks, and he's gonna have one of those big weeks too.
Here's the thing though, like the where you were drafting him, at the beginning of the season. I mean, haven't you been pretty much starting him the whole season? If not, like
I don't think so. I haven't been. I drafted him like the 4th round.
Well, who else do you have? That's great. I'm actually curious about that.
I can look it up, but
I mean, I'm in a couple leagues with Mixon where I have I got Jordan Howard and I had Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, and then I got Joe Mixon in like a 4th or 5th round.
Whew. I like that.
That was one scenario.
Love that. Damn. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, if you did no RB and he was your first RB, first off, you're an idiot. But I'm sure there are people that did it. I'm sure. Because it was somebody that, like, there are people that would go no RB, but also have the same philosophy of, I like the unknown. So, let's go Mixon, because obviously there's no competition. And the fact that he wasn't named the starter to begin the season and we're still pretending like Hill is anything is completely foolish. Even Bernard doesn't look very good.
No, he doesn't.
He looks terrible. So honestly, just get rid of both of them. Just have Mixon on the field for every single snap.
Yeah, and by the way, I was wrong. It was in the league that I have Jordan Howard, and I did start him because I have Tevin Coleman. I feel like I lost somebody in this league though and dropped because I have like Derrick Henry. My running backs are kind of trash. Jonathan Stewart, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Tevin Coleman, Jordan Howard. I have AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Sammy Watkins.
Okay, so you kind of did a no RB a little bit there then. So you grabbed.
I drafted Jordan Howard in the 2nd round.
Okay, that's not quite no RB, but it's still. I mean, it's still in essence you went stronger at wide receiver than you went into the running back. So yeah, I mean,
right.
So that kind of goes into what I'm saying. Like where he was being drafted, you at least have had to start him several weeks.
Yeah,
unless you have what like the situation that Brent. If you went all RBs for a few rounds, then
right,
you probably are right. But if you went and grabbed a couple of wide receivers or reached up to get Gronk or something like that, then you're going to be. You were kind of counting on him to be a playmaker from the beginning.
Yeah, and you're probably disappointed, like you said. But better things, I think, will be in store. Hopefully, at least. He's talented. You watch him play, and there's no doubt he's the best running back on the field.
Yeah,
for sure. But all right, next guy I want to ask you guys about, somebody that you hate, Alex. Mark Ingram. You can't deny the dude's been scoring fantasy points. He's been getting 28 touches a game since they got rid of the AP. What do you think? They're at home versus Chicago this week.
Are you asking me first?
Yeah, you.
I want to. Why don't you talk to Brent? I want to pull up his stats. I just
hate Mark Ingram, so that's why I want you to get your opinion. I can. No.
I can't. Sorry, it's like cutting out on me for some weird reason. I don't know why. But
yeah, me too.
I mean, I don't know. Like, okay, this has happened before where Ingram looks really good, and he'll have a couple of games here and there, and then he'll fall off the face of the earth. And I just, we've been. How long have we been at it with Ingram? Like, okay, is this guy good? Is he not? New Orleans isn't really that great. So I don't know. I mean, you just can't trust a team that has Drew Brees because that's where the ball is going to go through. I guess if you happened to pick him up, because I'm sure there were lots of people dropping him, if you picked him up, you're having a great time right now. I just don't know if you want to rely on him, every single week. I think that you're going to have some of those weeks where he only puts up 50 yards.
Yeah.
I think you see Drew Brees getting older, so he's relying more on his running backs. And you see Mark Ingram with the rushing touches, but you see Alvin Kamara, he's getting all the targets in the passing game for the running. I don't know. You just see less of the passing almost in that New Orleans offense. It just seems like there's to a running or passing to the running back style.
Yeah, for sure. Because they're
utilizing their weapons appropriately though too.
Yeah.
So they're winning games now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's got so since AP's been traded, he went from 14 touches for 45 yards, no touchdowns, to 25 touches, 114 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then 22 touches for 105 and a touchdown. I mean, that's great fantasy stat lines, and that's what you want to be seeing. I just don't know if he can hold it up because, like I said, year in and year out, we see this, like, you start getting excited about him, and then he will end up throwing up a 14 for 45. I mean, that's Mark Ingram. So you can't fully trust him, but ride him while he's hot.
Would you start him this week, then? Obviously.
Who are they going against?
Home for Chicago. Bears.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, like, I think that it's hard to sit a running back that's hot, and it usually is like when either, unless it's a definite bad matchup, which I don't think that's a horrible matchup. Chicago's defense is young. They're still kind of finding their identity, and so they're kind of back and forth. Like I feel like some weeks they look a little bit better, and then some weeks they don't look great. So, but I think that when you've got Breeze throwing it, I think that's going to be a little bit too much for the Bears. So it's probably a good start. But just keep riding the hot hand until he comes up against a really bad matchup or a really good matchup for the passing game. And then you probably want to sit him. But, ride him while he's hot.
Yeah. How do you feel about Ted Ginn? Same offense, same game.
Flash. He's gonna. I mean, don't expect him to do what he did last week, game in and game out. The week before, I think he had like one big play and he ended up getting a touchdown, or maybe it was just one big pass. I don't know. He's one of those guys that's gonna be, he'll only have 50 yards or he'll have 120 yards off of like 4 or 5 catches. I mean, that's how Ted Ginn's always been. And so he's definitely kind of one of those boomer bust kind of guys. So, if you think that he, like, if you think, I don't know. It's hard to say, yes, start him because of how boomer bust he can be.
Yeah.
I'm kind of waiting for Michael Thomas to come out a little bit more. Like, I haven't heard a lot about him.
Yeah, I think Willie Snead's getting healthier too, so we might see a little less of Ginn. But right now, Ginn is definitely startable just based on pure volume. Like if Snead's not playing, it seems to be going to Ginn. They don't use Kobe Fleener. They seem to like Brandon Coleman in that offense too.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He's a big-bodied wide receiver. So I mean, he gets his.
Doesn't get a lot of targets, but I mean, they like going to him in the red zone, it seems. But Mike Thomas, I think, is still unarguably he's the number one. Like,
for sure.
That's you start him week in and week out.
Would you rather own? What would you rather? What'd you say, Alex?
I just said I wish that he would be a little bit like, I don't know. I don't know what his yards are per game off the top of my head, but it just seems like it always ends up being another wide receiver that has more yards.
Michael Thomas?
Yeah. Is he getting a lot of touchdowns? Like I just haven't even really heard about him that much. I don't know.
Because I think he's been getting used, but he's let's see now. I mean, pretty mediocre, 80 yards. Last game he had 7 catches for 82 yards. A couple games before that he had 8 for 89, 7 for 87, 5 for 89.
Yeah. So I mean, he's doing well, but he's not doing what I want him to do. You know what I mean? Like I want him to be a 100-yard receiver every week.
Yeah, you drafted him to be great. So
yeah, exactly.
And he hasn't been. What I wanted to ask was, would you rather have Ted Ginn or Terrell Pryor at this point?
Ted Ginn? Are you kidding?
What's wrong with Terrell Pryor?
He left.
Is he trash? Is he just
Washington's
not good?
trash? Washington's trash.
Yeah.
Washington is trash. I don't know what they've done, but whatever they've done the wrong thing. They are garbage. They can't run the ball. They can't pass the ball. You know, I mean, it's a shit show down there. I don't know. It's bad.
They said yesterday or today that they're going to ride the hot hand at wide receiver.
Yeah, what does that even mean?
It means between Doxson and Pryor, one of those guys is going to be getting the snaps, and the other guy is going to be on the sideline.
That's awful. That's. Did you watch that game? I know, Brent, you did, but Roman, did you watch that game?
I watched part of it. I turned it off because I was pissed.
Like, I mean, they couldn't. Did you see that play where they like 5 guys jump on Wentz's back and he just basically walked out?
Yes.
I mean, amazing by Wentz. Terrible
Wentz is awesome, by the way. Wentz is great.
Yes, he is.
Oh, he's so good. So good.
Gosh, guys, I don't want to get an erection sitting here talking about Carson Wentz right now. Okay,
I think I have him on
I drafted
every
so
team.
much Wentz. Yeah, like you own him in our Pride League, Brent. I own him in like out of 11 leagues. I think I own him in.
I love
8.
him so much.
Well, he was drafted so late. If you drafted him at all,
yeah. Well, and remember,
I'm a free agent in most leagues up until like week 4 or 5.
Well, and see, the crazy part was that in like when we were doing all those mock drafts, I got him in like both of them because he was that like perfect sweet spot in my mind. He was at this perfect spot where I could get like the most like amazing quarterback, maybe a top 5 quarterback, way in the later rounds. And honestly, he could be top 3 if he continues at this pace. He could be like one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I'm so excited. I'm so excited he plays for me.
So you say, you know, current pace, and I get it. Like I'm all on board with Wentz, but would you start like Carson Wentz or Kirk Cousins?
Wentz.
Yeah.
Wentz.
Yeah. I'm not sending Wentz.
You know,
right
Wentz or you know, like, I mean, I still think you start Drew Brees, Tom Brady, those kind of guys, but
sure.
Like, who else are you starting over Wentz right now?
Alex said
Winston?
top 3. No, you're not starting Wentz. Like, you're not benching Wentz for anybody other than if you have Tom Brady or Breeze, I guess. I would probably think about it with Breeze.
Rodgers is out. Luck is out.
I mean, there's your 3 right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting him up there as a top 3 or 4 quarterback right now.
Mm-hmm.
Would you start him over Matt Ryan week in, week out?
Yes, 100%. Until they figure out their offense. Atlanta, I got Matt Ryan on my list of people to talk about, which I'm curious to get your guys' opinion, but Atlanta kind of looks like they're not clicking either.
Yeah. Something's weird with that.
Well, I mean, when your offensive coordinator leaves, like that's the problem. When you have a team that just is lighting up, it's usually because you're OC, and they're gonna get another job, and that just sucks because your team goes from like just clicking on all cylinders to you know, you're hoping that they have some protege that's underneath them that can just basically take everything that they did and just keep doing it, you know?
Mm-hmm. And that doesn't normally happen.
No, it doesn't. No.
I do, and I contemplated dropping Matt Ryan today. I don't suggest that you do that, but like I had a team that's pretty stacked. I don't even remember. Because I'm pretty sure it was a league that I had Andrew Luck in and another quarterback and Matt Ryan. And I was like, I dropped Andrew Luck instead, which at this point I can't hold on to him anymore. But
yeah, for sure.
It's if you got, say you have like Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan and you have a team that you feel really good about, would you consider it? You still
probably
not
wait till after the. I probably would at least, yeah. I mean, because what you know, somebody's going to snatch him up. I mean, he's not going to be there after the fact. So you got to think like, okay, what am I picking for a bye week then?
Well, that's the thing though. I would consider Matt Ryan almost a buy low right now or a sell low, I guess. But you sell him for something because you know he's going to get picked up on waiver wire. So why not try and get something in return for him? You know?
Yeah, dropping him
even if it's just something small.
Upside, like I mean, maybe a Matt Ryan for a Will Fuller, something to complete or something like that. You know, like just something that's going to actually make your team a little bit better. You know?
Yeah. Turn it from a bench spot to a possible starter, basically.
I mean, let's say Julio Jones had a bad game against the Patriots. I mean, he went 9 for 99 and a touchdown, which still isn't quite Julio Jones status, you know. He got that touchdown in garbage time. So would you consider Matt Ryan and Julio Jones almost a buy low right now? Like,
yeah.
Do you think they can do better than what they're doing? We've seen it. Their upside is so high. Their ceilings are so high. Why couldn't you trade something, buy them low?
Buy low on Julio Jones. Like unless you're getting Matt Ryan for nothing, I don't think you should buy him. Like if you can get him like added into a deal, maybe.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I mean,
like have somebody throw it in
because I think he's gonna do better. Right now, he's just getting that. The 200, 250 yards and 1 or 2 touchdowns. He's being the Matt Ryan that was prior to last year. He's not playing like MVP Matt Ryan right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I found that league that I was talking about where I thought about dropping him. I have Carson Wentz as my starting quarterback right now. And then I have Leonard Fournette, DeMarco Murray, and Derrick Henry that are all on bye this week. And I needed another running back, and I wanted to pick up Dion Lewis. And I was not sure who to drop. My bench right now is Matt Ryan, Fournette, Murray, Henry, Stephon Diggs, and Will Fuller. And I did not want to drop any of those guys.
Yeah,
clearly.
Yeah.
I had luck, so I dropped him, but still.
Yep.
I think it makes.
I can't blame you for that. I mean, based on bye weeks, you're in a bad spot, so you got to drop one of those guys. So why not Luck? You got Wentz. You got to worry about his week 10 bye a little bit, but stream one and you'll be good.
Yeah, you can get by through that. Don't worry about buys. Carson Wentz is
much easier to stream a quarterback than it is a running back. So
absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's talk about tight end because we kind of were talking about Kirk Cousins being kind of garbage a little bit, Washington being garbage this year. Jordan Reed touted as one of the top 2 tight ends. Vernon Davis, I feel like, has been outplaying him.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Well, Reed is playing hurt. Like
when's he not playing hurt?
And yeah, I know that's the thing.
He's
like
always hurt.
But oh my gosh, he's just so talented anytime he's on the field, though. And you have those opportunity for those blow up games with Jordan Reed. He has that ceiling that Vernon Davis doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have not owned him ever. And this is kind of why. Yeah. I mean, I understand his upside, but I also understand his downside is he could be out for the season at any moment. He could be out for 4 or 5 weeks at any moment. He could play like he's playing right now at any moment. And I think that like there's been so much buildup to how good he could be, and then he finally realized that after a few years of the concussion issues and all that stuff, and I still wasn't buying into it. And then he had another season that was really good. I'm still not buying into it, and now he's kind of reverted back to where he was before. And so I'm even still now looking at him like this is the player that I can't get into. I can't get into Jordan Reed at all. I got nothing on him.
Yeah, I've picked up Vernon Davis in a couple leagues. How do you feel about owning him?
I mean, I feel like with Jordan Reed actually playing in the same game, it limits Vernon Davis's upside. I don't feel like it's that in the reverse form, though. Like the fact that Jordan Reed is playing, the offense tends to flow through him a little bit. He gets the most targets each game, but it's just a matter of production. Vernon Davis doesn't take as much production from Jordan Reed, I don't feel. I don't mind owning Vernon Davis as a handcuff to Jordan Reed because when Jordan Reed is out, Vernon Davis has so much fantasy upside, it's ridiculous. But he has a decent floor. I mean, he had, 2 or 3 catches for 60-some yards in the last game, and a decent floor. I mean, you got to realize with Jordan Reed there, it's taking so much production away from what Vernon Davis could actually do.
Right, and I think if you're picking him up, you're kind of hoping that Jordan Reed gets in it. He's not a bad bye week replacement guy, though. You know what I mean? Like, pick him up with that
The
chance.
odds are with you that he's going to get hurt.
Very much so, because other than, you got Gronk and Ertz, Kelsey. After that, I feel like it kind of gets. Am I missing anybody? Like those top 3?
No,
yeah, I mean, and keep in mind, Greg Olson's coming back soon too. If he's still out there as a free agent, go pick him up. He'll probably be back in the next 2-3 weeks. So go get him.
And I'm all about that, but I don't know. I'm worried about Greg Olson being done.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? He's old.
Yeah, well, but I mean, isn't he like 32, 33? That's tight end. That's not quite tight end old. Like 35 is like where tight end is like, okay, that's when they really hit their decline. Like top tier tight ends can usually last to like 35. So I think that you probably have a season, maybe 2 left in them.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the injury bug is going to start becoming an issue, then that's a problem. But I don't think he's done yet. I think he's got a little bit left.
All right, so if he's on your waiver wire, go ahead and pick him up. I want to talk about 2 more guys real quick before we close out the show. What do you guys think about Mike Evans right now? He hasn't been great. Him. Like, buy him low, right? Like you were talking about Julio Jones. Like,
I mean, if you can buy him low, I mean, he's still producing wide receiver 1, production every single week. So
has he been? I feel like the hype hasn't been there. I'll pull it up, but
the hype hasn't. It really hasn't.
Why?
But the production still
because there. Tampa Bay sucks. Like what I was talking, like I was talking to Brent about this a couple of days ago. How much we were drooling over this team. We were so in love with Tampa Bay. And now we're like, this team should be unstoppable. Why isn't this team unstoppable? It makes no sense. Yeah. I'm confused. I'm completely confused. Is it just their defense? Is their defense just letting them down to such a degree that they can't? But at the same time, their fantasy production sucks. So I don't know.
They're just very inconsistent from what I've seen. Yeah. Like it feels like the quarterback play, running back play, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive line, all their whatever. Like everything is inconsistent from every single drive. It's like one drive they'll be amazing, go down the field, just score, and then the next drive, what the hell just happened? And then the next drive, they're good again. And like they just can't seem to get it all encompassed in one game. So I just don't feel like they're a complete team. They just can't get it all together consistently. But
is that Mike players Evans, or play calling?
It's probably both. Like I I don't know. I feel like a lot of it has to do with coaching because the talent on that team is just so remarkably good. Deshaun Jackson's been pretty good. He's getting at least, one big catch a game. Mike Evans, he's had some decent coverages. Good cornerbacks have been covering him, but they don't cover him all game long. So the times that they aren't covering him is when he's getting his production, it seems. So I still think you got to. I mean, you're not benching Mike Evans for anybody.
No,
you're probably
absolutely not.
You're probably maybe flexing out like a Doug Martin or a Deshaun Jackson right now. Jameis Winston, I still think is a top 12 quarterback. I still think that. I mean, he got hurt and playing hurt last week on his throwing shoulder.
Yeah,
he still put up over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, the guy is still a great quarterback.
Absolutely. So you talked about Doug Martin kind of flexing out. What's the upside there? Is the upside pretty much with wide receivers?
Well, the upside with Doug Martin right now is that I don't feel like there's anyone else behind him.
Oh my gosh!
And that's it.
What is the deal? Last year it seemed like it was a next man up. It didn't matter. Whoever you plugged in there was going to be amazing. What is going on with it? Nobody. Charles Sims doesn't exist anymore. Jaquiz Rogers doesn't really exist. Is Jordan Payton still there?
I don't even
or
know.
What was it? Or whatever his name was, doesn't exist. And Doug Martin barely
Peyton
exists.
Barber?
Peyton Barber. Okay,
Yes.
Peyton Barber. That other one was a wide receiver that played for the Browns, Jordan Payton, and then he went to the Colts, didn't he? Okay. Anyway, something along those lines. Anyway, so yeah, I don't like Martin going forward. I don't like anything about Tampa Bay's running game right now. And there's nobody I'm looking at that I'm like, okay, well maybe they'll give it to, because they got rid of McNichols at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't even a young rookie that you're like, well, maybe they'll give it to him. Maybe, somebody to keep your eye on. There's nobody to keep your eye on because they've played all those guys and they're not effective.
I feel like Doug Martin's looked pretty good when he's been in there, though.
I think you're right.
But he just doesn't have any upside.
Their defense gives up so many points so quickly, though, which is the problem because then they abandon the run. I mean, he's getting touches. He is. But the yardage hasn't been there. He's getting a couple touchdowns so far.
The game script has been crap.
Yeah, it has. It's completely been game script, and a lot of it's play calling.
And that's why I feel like it's got to turn around at some point.
I just don't feel like they're consistent is the thing.
Sure. All right, last guy I want to talk about before we close it out, Alshon Jeffrey. What?
I have him in a couple leagues, but what's the difference between Alshon Jeffrey right now and Sammy Watkins other than quarterback? I feel like both guys are just 2 catches for 30 yards a game.
Okay.
Right?
I feel like
It's
I
what
don't
it
know.
feels
I feel like Jeffrey's a little bit better than that.
Okay, a little bit better,
Yeah.
but is he worth starting?
Okay, no, but no. I mean, let's face facts that Nelson Aguilar is the guy to have on that team as far as wide receiver goes. He's going to get the most catches. He might end up with the most yards, and he's going to end up with a touchdown. I mean, he is. I mean, I will if I needed to, I would get on a podium and write him a poem of my apologies because he has proved me wrong. I was right the first 2 years. I'm wrong this year, and I couldn't be happier about it, obviously, because he's on my
Alex,
team.
I kind of just want you to do it anyway. I want you to write out a letter to him, send it to him, and I hope you get a response back because I want you to read it on this podcast.
Okay, I'll do it. You know what? I will do this. I will do this, and I'll have something ready for you.
That's
because
exciting.
I feel like it has to happen. I was such an angry human being when they drafted him. I heard Nelson Aguilar, USC. I went blind with rage, and I was just ready to murder everything. I mean, if it would have been a second
You weren't
rounder,
the only one, though. You weren't the only one.
That's true.
A lot of people did not like that pick. A lot of people after the first year hated him. Fantasy wise, even like, why do like? Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I was on that same ship as you. Like, there was Juju, there was Nelson Aguilar, all these USC wide receivers. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. I still don't. But I'm growing. It's growing on me. Like,
like it is like if there are guys that go to the right situation, and typically I'm like, nope, no USC. I have to start looking at it. It's like, well, maybe. Like I think that I would actually legitimately take a flyer on either a late round or a late rookie pick on a USC wide receiver at the right situation, if it calls for it at this point, because it does seem like that has changed a little bit. Now, kind of shifting back over to Jeffrey, again, in Dynasty, don't get rid of him. I don't believe, because I don't think he's going to be an Eagle next year. I think that he's going to go somewhere else, and depending on where he goes, he could be very valuable. So just because he's not doing well doesn't mean you want to get rid of him in Dynasty. Now, I don't think he's droppable in redraft leagues, but I don't think he's really startable right now, unless he gets more acclimated into the game script and stuff like that. I'm not starting him.
I almost see like okay, let's just say the Giants do not sign Odell Beckham, because they're going to be left with that. Yeah, I feel like there's that void left at the Giants, and then Jeffrey would probably go to the Giants. They're going to need a top wide receiver if Beckham's to leave. But I honestly don't see Beckham leaving the Giants, though.
Why?
No.
Why not?
He's the face of that franchise at this point.
They're going to I don't know.
You just don't see that
like
in today's NFL. You don't see a face of a franchise leave that early in their career. You just don't.
Yeah, I guess I can't come up with something off the top of my head. So, but I don't know. There's just something about it.
It's fun to think about. It really is fun to think about, like Odell Beckham with Carson Wentz. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It'd be fun for sure. But all right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for the input on Alshon Jeffrey. I don't think anybody's dropping him. Nobody's. If you want to trade him, I guess you could, but I think better days are in store. That Carson Wentz is too good. The offense is too high profile for you to drop him, but I like Nelson Aguilar better. But yeah, thanks for listening. Next week, I don't really know exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to get a letter from Alex to Nelson Aguilar. Start the show off. So that's what we'll lead him with.
I'm excited.
Hop on Twitter, follow us, Four Horsemen Pod. Send us emails, forhorsemenpod@gmail.com. We will catch you next week. Peace.